his frustration lies deeply within the organization and other things that,
Of course,
we don't really
I agree
have
with that.
details to. There's just been a lot of stuff, that I've been hearing just going on with the Boston organization, with JB, so I think part of him is like, I showed you guys more of who I am as a basketball player, not only just, what I did on the basketball court, but the leadership that I displayed within, this team. And you've seen that, not having our, best player in JT. You've seen a different side of me and what I'm able to bring to the game of basketball. So all that stuff, I think just came into play with him and his frustration.
First of all, this is cap. Okay, Brad Stevens just came out yesterday and said that he talked to Jaylen Brown right after the finals and he was in good spirits. Okay, according to Jaylen Brown, he just had the best, most fun season of his career, which doesn't make any sense because just 2 years ago, he won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP and he won the regular Finals MVP and he won his first championship. So what about this season would make it better than that season for Jaylen Brown? It's obvious because Jason Tatum was gone for a majority of the season. And Jaylen Brown was also taking shots at Jason Tatum on his stream on Twitch because, he praised his teammates that actually showed up. He kept saying, shout out to my teammates that showed up. We went to war. Everybody should show up. Basically taking shots at Tatum for not playing in Game 7 after he basically sat out because he had knee tightness in, I think, his left leg. You know what I'm saying? But, for those that don't know, Tracy McGrady is Jaylen Brown's favorite player of all time. He's also a mentor to Jaylen Brown back when Kyrie Irving was on the Boston Celtics and Jaylen Brown was coming off the bench. He was about to request a trade from the Boston Celtics, and Tracy McGrady is the man that stopped him from doing that, right? So shout out to T-Mac for that. Tracy McGrady is also my favorite player of all time. But the reality of the situation is this. Tracy McGrady is not giving honest, fair critique because, he values, his relationship with Jaylen Brown, as he should, right? Because most players don't come out and say T-Mac was their favorite player, right? Most people say Jordan or Kobe, right, or LeBron. So for Jaylen Brown to say T-Mac, that means a lot to him, you know what I'm saying? But let's get into Jaylen Brown's stats in games 5, 6, and 7, where they lost 3 straight games to the 76ers after they were up 3-1. So, game 5, Jaylen Brown had 22 points. He only made 9 out of 23 shots. He's the only person on his team that took 23 shots, and he was 1 for 4 from the 3. This was a horrible performance from Jaylen Brown. Now, I'm going to be fair and say that Jason Tatum had a rough game as well. He only had 2 points more than Jaylen Brown. He had 24 points. He was 8 for 19. And he only hit 4 out of 12 threes, right? So Jason Tatum was jacking up a lot of bricks from the 3. So I'm going to be fair, and I'm not just going to blame Jaylen Brown for them losing game 5. I'm going to blame Jason Tatum as well. But you guys got to remember, game 5 is when Jaylen Brown started playing one-on-one Superman basketball, right? They were up on the 76ers going into the second half. And then in the third and fourth quarter, Jaylen Brown just completely started ball hogging, bruh. He stopped passing the ball. Jason Tatum got cold. You know what I'm saying? Jaylen Brown is just jacking up threes. He's going to the paint, pushing off, trying to make these contested layups, these contested mid-range jump shots. And he's making a complete asshole of himself, bro. I think game 5 might be Jaylen Brown's worst performance in his NBA career. It was horrible. It was horrible to see Jaylen Brown just not pass the ball. You got players that's open because this entire team can shoot. You got Derek White, who had a rough playoff series against the 76ers. You got Pritchard, who in my opinion is one of the best players coming off the bench. I think he has the potential to eventually become a starter. You got Shearman, who can knock down threes as well. You got Vujacic. And Jaylen Brown is just acting like he's the only good player on the team. Just being completely selfish, okay? So let's get into game 6. So game 6, the 76ers won 106-93. In this game, Jaylen Brown only had 18 points. Jason Tatum only had 17 points. Jaylen Brown was 7 for 17, and he was 2 for 6 from the three. So that's a second straight awful performance from Jaylen Brown. And remember, Jason Tatum's not even 100%. For all of the people that's, saying, oh, Days, why are you critiquing Jaylen Brown, but you're not critiquing Jason Tatum? Brother, Jason Tatum came back way early from his Achilles injury, bruh. The fact that he was playing as well as he did was incredible. You understand what I'm saying? There was one game where the man had a triple-double. There was a couple more games where he averaged almost a triple-double. I'm not blaming Jason Tatum at all. Just the fact that he was there is good enough for me, and he did pretty decent. Now, did he have the best shooting performances in the playoffs? No, he ultimately missed Game 7 because he injured his leg in Game 6. But at the end of the day, bro, Jaylen Brown is the one that's been saying all season that he should win MVP, when we all know that's not true. We all know SGA is clearly the MVP of the league. It's no debate. It's SGA all the way. That OKC team had so many injuries this year, and they still finished in one of the top seeds in the West, and they've been dominating, and they're undefeated in the playoffs right now, guys. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? We've seen the Celtics and Jaylen Brown lose to some tough teams going into the postseason. We've seen it. Let's not act like we didn't see it. Come on now. So that's why I'm holding Jaylen Brown accountable, because he's the one that's been on social media all year, popping it, talking his shit, saying he should be MVP, saying he should have been player of the month. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you talk that talk, you got to walk that walk. You can't have a good regular season and then have a bad performance in the playoffs, and we just excuse what happened in the playoffs, because the playoffs is what matters. Yes, the Celtics were an underdog going into this season. I don't think any of us expected the Celtics to be as good as they were, because they started off the season very rough for Jaylen Brown. And Jaylen Brown turned things around. He positioned the Celtics to be, I believe they were a top 3 team in the East this season. You know what I'm saying? So congratulations to Jaylen Brown for that. But he did not live up to expectations in the playoffs. Now let's get into Game 7. This was a Game 7 where Jason Tatum didn't play. So you don't have that excuse of, the Celtics lost Game 7 because of Jason Tatum. No, Jason Tatum didn't play. And this was a Game 7 where Jaylen Brown could not stop committing offensive fouls. He pushed off at least 5 to 10 times in this game, bro. And it wasn't just a regular push-off that the refs will let slide. This man was stiff-arming folks like on some Derrick Henry type shit, bro. Shout out to Derrick Henry, who plays for the Baltimore Ravens. Like, Jaylen Brown was out there looking like a running back, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think folks forget, like, Jaylen Brown is tall. He's like, what, 6'7", 6'8". He's very athletic. He's a strong dude. It's not like he's a small dude like Tyrese Maxey that's doing that. Like, bro, when you push off like that, bro, motherfuckers is gonna fall on the ground. He had that one play where he flopped on Joel Embiid, like he acted like he tripped just to get a foul call on Joel Embiid. And then he took it upon himself to start guarding Joel Embiid, which makes no sense. Why are you guarding a center that's twice the size of you, bro, that weighs more than you, bro? And Joel Embiid was sunning him. He did have that one block on Joel Embiid, I'll give you that. But the reality of the situation is, guys, is Jaylen Brown had a rough 33 points in game 7. He was 12 for 27, right? 3 for 9 from the 3. And listen, bro, Derek White was awful this entire series. I got to be honest. Like, Derek White, you had 26 points, but you were 9 for 26. You took 26 shots and only made 9 of them. That is horrible. That's some Russell Westbrook type shit. Bruh, Derek White shot 16 3-pointers in Game 7. He only made 5. But the reason why I'm not going that hard on Derek White, guys, is because Jaylen Brown is the man that has the $300+ million contract. Jaylen Brown is the multiple-time All-Star. Jaylen Brown is the former Eastern Conference and Finals MVP. He's, you know what I'm saying? Right? Like, that's why I'm holding Jaylen Brown accountable, because he's the self-proclaimed MVP of this season. So I'm not going to hold Derek White, who's never been an All-Star, hasn't won no MVP. He's not even considered a star. He is considered one of the best third options in the league. But I'm not going to hold Derek White to the same standards of a Jaylen Brown. Especially when, Derek White had to deal with Jason Tatum coming in and out of the lineup and him having to, take a step back on offense to let Jason Tatum do his thing. So I'm not going to hold Derek White accountable like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, Derek White is Derek White, bro. You know what I'm saying? But Jaylen Brown, like, you showed that you're not as good as you think you are, bro. You still have a lot of things to work on. You need to work on not pushing off. You need to work on your playmaking skills. Stop being selfish and pass the fucking ball. Guys, there was so many times in this playoff series, even before the playoffs started, where Jason Tatum is asking Jaylen Brown for the ball. And Jaylen Brown is looking Jason Tatum directly in his eyes, acting like he's going to pass it to Jason Tatum. And then out of nowhere, he just turns his head and just gives it to somebody else that's not even open. What's that all about? What's that all about, JB? And I was really thinking about this, right? When you think about it, guys, Jason Tatum, up until 2024, was always looked at as the number one option on the Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown is the one that had to deal with coming off of the bench when Kyrie came to the team, right? Having to take a step back to JT. And I remember Jaylen Brown used to heart people's tweets on Twitter of people saying, oh, if Jaylen Brown wasn't on the Celtics, he could be the best player on the team. He could be the number one option. And I think Jaylen Brown has allowed all of the negativity get into his head. I think that he feeds into these narratives, bro. I think this season, bro, I think this season was all about Jaylen Brown proving for the final time that he doesn't need Jason Tatum to be successful. And also, remember the Olympics? Remember when the Olympics team, they picked up Jason Tatum and Derek White, and they didn't pick up Jaylen Brown? I think that bothers Jaylen Brown. Now listen, it bothered me. I didn't understand why they chose Derek White over it. It just didn't make any fucking sense. Like, why didn't they get Jaylen Brown? This man is the Eastern Conference and Finals MVP. So I think Jaylen Brown feels like there's a lot of behind the scenes forces working against him. And listen, maybe he's right. But what I'm saying is he's making things worse. Coming out a day after you just lost the playoff, you got eliminated from the playoffs, coming out a day later and going on Twitch and saying that you just had the best season ever, and you're calling out the refs. You got fined $50,000 because you criticized the refs. You're calling out Joel Embiid's flopping when we seen you flopping as well. It's just not a good look, bro. And the reality is, guys, is Jaylen Brown is starting to become a distraction for the Boston Celtics. And if you're the Boston Celtics and you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who's making all this money, you should consider trading Jaylen Brown. Seriously, you should consider trading that contract, bro, because Jaylen Brown has become a distraction. And I think it's only going to get worse, to be honest, bro. I think the same mentality JB had this season, I think he's going to have that same mentality next season, bro. I think he's going to go out of his way to show Jason Tatum, nigga, this is my team now, nigga. I'm the number one option on offense now, nigga. You play off of me. And I think it's just going to cause all types of problems, bro. And it shouldn't be like that, bro. These guys should be playing together. They shouldn't be jealous of each other. You know what I'm saying? Jason Tatum's not the one that didn't pick you on the Olympics team, bro. If you want to get mad at anybody, get mad at Steve Kerr, my nigga. Steve Kerr benched Jason Tatum. You don't think Jason Tatum feels some type of way about that? So that's my thoughts, man. Let me know what you guys think. It's your boy Days. Make sure y'all subscribe. Click that hype button. Thumbs up the video. I'm out.